Hi, and thank you for watching Targeted West and TargetedWest.com. This is DJ Chris, the moderator and host. The opinions of our guests are that of their own and not that of Targeted West or DJ Chris. We're a peaceful group that gets together, a technology group, a work group, and we discover fourth industrial revolutionary technologies and discuss them every Sunday. This is show number 185, and it is the 2nd of November, 2025. If you're watching us on your favorite platform, please like, subscribe, and make a comment. We would appreciate that. Hugs to you, caller 00, and Deb Kay's in the house. Without further ado, let's go over to Snowy Owl. How are you today?
Hi, I'm pretty good. How is everybody? How are you, Chris?
I'm doing good. It was a nice day today, nice and warm. It's 70 degrees right now in beautiful Lodi.
Oh, that's nice. I was wrapping lead today. I have a lot of lead here. I was outside wrapping lead for a little while. I use a lot of lead in my home for protection.
Do you put it on the walls outside?
I have it on my foundation, around my foundation.
Oh, okay.
And I have some stacked up near the electrical delivery pipe. I have used tires out there. I have used tires around my foundation, and it actually works as a pretty good buffer. The stack isn't high enough where my house is. The foundation is a couple feet high, so I need another stack of tires. But rubber and tires are free. When you get used tires, you can go to a mom and pop garage, and they're glad to get rid of the tires. And you could make a lot of stuff out of the tires for indoors too, like dog beds and cat beds and lights and tables and chairs out of the rubber. But I need another layer to stop them from shooting into my foundation. And when I remove them and I move it to some other place in the foundation, I can tell the difference right away. So tires work really well.
So do you think the torture is coming from the ground perhaps and going through your foundation? Is that how it's happening? In my belief, that's what I'm guessing.
The electromagnetic field, the shots, they're coming through from the road, across from the road. It's burning holes in my trees and my bushes. So
that's terrible.
Yes, I had an arborist here, and but he didn't know anything about electromagnetic fields, so that didn't help because I know that's what it is. And I brought a piece of new metal out with me to talk with him, and I had him hold it over my meter, and it started vibrating, and he felt it, and I think that scared him. But that's what happens when you have new metal around an electromagnetic field. It's going to absorb it or redirect it. And I had put it in the path of the burned trees because he was telling me that it was too much water, too much rain, too much drought, too much this, and there's just too many trees and bushes of different kinds that were burned. And I knew that's not what it was. And there was paths, and I held the mu metal in the path, and it started vibrating. And he didn't want to hold it. That second time he didn't want to try it, and he said he had to leave for another appointment. So if I got another arborist here that was familiar with electromagnetic fields, that would be great. And I could show him what the mu metal does. It shows that there's a path from the road coming to my home, and the mu metal's picking it up. So it's like a meter, like a meter reading, the mu metal. I can feel it vibrate, and it spits out the electromagnetic field out the sides. So if you're getting shot with directed energy weapon and you hold the mu metal up and you tilt it and you have a side facing you, that side of it is going to shoot at you because it's going to come out the side. So you want to aim it away from you, and you want to aim it away from wiring and appliances. It's a very interesting metal, and it's not all nickel. It's got iron in it and copper, and there's a combination. And then they heat it in this hydrogen process, and when they do that, it changes the composition of the nickel, and it makes it permeable and able to redirect directed energy weapon, electromagnetic fields. So the way I found it was my phone blocks hits, and I searched what was inside of an iPhone, what kind of shielding they used for inside of an iPhone, what components were in there, and I saw that they used nickel and the mu metal. So I started researching it. It was really expensive, and I was researching it, and there's a lot of places that talk about mu metal, but it's not perfection annealed. If it's just stress annealed, it won't do the same thing. It will not absorb and redirect electromagnetic fields. It'll buffer it, but it's not going to redirect it. And aluminum foil is a buffer. Tires are a buffer. Lead is an absorber. So I bought 4 different kinds, four different places, and tested it out, and one wasn't. And I bought the one that wasn't perfection annealed on purpose to see for myself if it would block it, stop it, what would happen. And it didn't. It didn't absorb it and redirect it. It was like using a regular metal. So I started putting it on my meter inside the house. My first piece was from Amazon, and I taped it to the wall. I kind of had to guess and measure where my meter was on the inside of the house, and it started lowering the frequency in my home right away. And I was like, oh my God, this is great, So I bought another piece, and I put it, I think I put it on the floor because my breaker panel is right below my meter in the basement. And it was even better. So this is great. So I bought 2 more pieces, and I bought some little pieces, and I started putting them around. And I noticed when I held it up and I walked through the house, it would pick up the directed energy weapon as I was walking through the house. It was like vibrating everywhere. It's really, really cool metal, and I'm glad that I found it. And I took a meter reading the other day. I took it with lead on my outlets. At first, without anything on my outlets, it's spitting out high electrical field. And that's hurting me. And it's coming through my switches. And it's coming through my lights. So I put lead there, and the lead didn't block it. And that was true to the meter. And then I tried a sheet of 22 gauge copper over the outlet, and that didn't block it. It was still the high electrical field reading on the meter. What lead did do was lead blocked cell tower. I put lead inside of the outlet, the sides, the top, and the back of the switches. I'm sorry, not an outlet, the switch in the kitchen. And it blocked cell tower, but it did not block the electrical field. So that's interesting, but needed it to block the electrical field. And then I tried the mu metal, and it went right down to 0.
Let's find out where that's coming from. Whoever's with your mic open, I think it's this one. No? Try again. this one. I think I got it. Go ahead and continue, Snowy Owl. Sorry about that.
Okay, that's okay. So I posted the video I took of the experiment with the mu metal, the lead, and the copper. And it's just amazing when you put the mu metal right over the outlet and you take a reading, you just push the mu metal a little bit firmly to the wall, and it takes it right down to 0, Chris. And that's excellent. That's just excellent. And that's one of the mysteries that's solved for me here in my home. So what I'm trying to do is get enough mu metal as I go along and put it over every outlet and every switch. And here's what happens, because I also put it over my breaker panel, and I have it kind of behind the wiring and on the electrical delivery pipe. Now, they still get through, but when it surges through the house and they start hitting the outlets and the switches that are covered, it backfires on them now. That's the interesting part. So it was frying their tech repeatedly. So what they started doing was going into the electrical delivery pipe and the breaker panel, shooting in there slowly, so that the mu metal wasn't kicking them off. And I started getting, hits from all different directions. And what I did was I ran my vacuum cleaner, and the hits stopped. And then the hits got worse when I shut it off, but then they got booted off. And what I learned is when I surge the electricity now and it goes through the house, they're getting booted off. So I have to frequently turn on my vacuum cleaner and surge it on and off to make the electricity run through the house so that they hit the mu metal, and it backfires on them. I didn't expect that to happen, but that's how I learn things and find things. It just happens. So, of course, they find ways in and out of everything, but I know which directions they come in from. What matters is I have an 1853 house, and the original house has aluminum siding on it, and it's painted. Now, I don't know if it has lead paint or not, but they can't come through my walls, the outside. They have to come through the seams where the walls meet together, the corners. I have an asphalt roof on that part of the house. On the addition, it's newer, but it has siding, but it has a flat rubber roof. Now, they have a hard time getting through the rubber roof. So it makes a difference what you have for siding and what you have for a roof. I was in a hotel room in Utah, and I was getting hit from all different directions through the walls because they can go through walls real easily. They can't go through aluminum siding. I don't know if it's because it's painted with lead paint. I haven't had it tested. It's old siding, and I'm not going to get it replaced because I know it's working.
They got rid of lead paint ages ago.
Right. So what they do is they can come through the windows. That's their favorite part, and they can shoot me through the walls in my house from windows in the other part of the house. My new experiment that's working pretty well for the windows is I'm putting copper, my leftover copper pieces at eye level, taping it on the windows, and some lead eye level. Doesn't have to be very big. And all the way around the house, in my medicine cabinet, I had to put a piece of lead eye level. And over my cooktop, I don't know how they got through that, but they're shooting in. And there is aluminum siding, so I don't know if it's because they're already inside the house there from the range hood. And my refrigerator. which is a big electrical metal appliance. So they're shooting at me through my refrigerator. They're making my refrigerator shoot at me, at my face. So those areas have lead on them. The refrigerator has mu metal, eye level. Over the cooktop is lead. The windows have copper. And it's working. It's helping out a lot. So the next level is going to be my pelvic area all the way around, because they hit that from every direction. And I'm going to see after that where they're coming in from. But I mix the mu metal and the lead a lot. I use both of them a lot. But I find the copper is working well in the window. Windows are their favorite thing to go through. They're the easiest.
Yep.
And that's the hardest to seal, because we want to look out the windows. We need sunlight. It gets really, really depressing and humid and unhealthy in the house with the windows closed and it dark all the time. As soon as I open my shades, I'm like, oh, sunshine feels good, and I'm getting all kind of hit. I've tried copper mesh, which helps, but it doesn't stop hits. It buffers something, because when I take it down, I can feel the difference. But it's just a buffer. But it's not the one I have. I haven't grounded it yet. I have it in all my windows, but I haven't grounded it. I have lead, 1/32 inch lead over my bedroom windows. Two important ones that are on the worst side of my house, where the hits come from, and they got through. And I wondered how they get through the. It's not sealed to the frame of the window, and they get through that area, because the directed energy weapon is force and pressure and vibration. And if I put my hand on the lead, I can feel it vibrating, just like my breaker panel. I have a lot of mu metal in my breaker panel, and I have like all these sheets of lead hanging like a lead skirt in front of it, lead curtain. And I can feel the vibration and the pins and needles coming from my breaker panel. That's how much they shoot at it to make it circulate through the house. Now, I've taken my hand and I've pushed on the lead and pushed it to the breaker panel cover, and I've held it there. And I can make that vibration go down to hardly anything at all by forcing it back, by not giving it that space it needs to shoot out. And I've done that with my outlets and my switches. I put my hand over it and put my body weight into it, and I hold onto it, and I push and I push, and I hold it there, and I don't let it have any airspace. And it needs that airspace and the pressure release. It needs to come through the outlets and the switches. Otherwise, it backs off, it backfires, and it shuts down. So I don't know if anybody else has ever tried that. Probably not.
Well, we can ask the audience. We can ask the audience right now if you want.
Yes, why not? Ask. You can ask.
How about you, Deb Kay? You got a lot of shielding going on. Do you have some solutions for Windows?
I can't hear her.
Oh, *6.
I'm sorry.
Deb.
How you doing, Colette?
Hi.
You look good.
Oh,
Anyway,
so
you see the windows behind me?
Yes.
Okay, that's black poster board that I got from the dollar store, and then I painted them with that paint that I was with the powder that you put. What is it called?
The tungsten powder?
Tungsten. Yeah, I painted it with that, and I got that facing out. And I'm gonna put some of this. Come on, what is it called?
Emergency blanket? Yeah, it's emergency blanket.
Yeah, I'm going to put some of that. I'm going to put 2 layers of that on there, and then I'm going to put the curtains over it. So they are coming through my corners. They come from corner to corner, like you said.
Yeah.
You're right. And so I just have to, I haven't had time because I've been busy with my work to get this room done. And I also use my copper cones.
Oh, I've got 4 right here in case they start hitting me while I'm talking. I got my 4 here.
Look at that. Wow.
You better
And
believe it.
I put the light, I put my light inside of it.
Oh,
My
cool.
my
Yeah.
stove light inside of it. And I'm telling you, when they're hurting me, I do this, and they're gone. They're gone. And I watch them in my cameras. You know, they pull up in front of my house, and I take this thing out, and I go, here you go, buddy. You get it right back. And I go, you know, because you can feel the beam. You know, and then they leave. Zippity-doo, they're gone.
I love the cones. And you were the one who told me about the cones. It took me a long time to get the supplies and to put it together because sometimes these things are hard to absorb. Like, how would that work? What's that going to do? It's just a triangle piece of metal. How is that going to help with what I'm going through? You know, and then I try it. It's like I'm texting her, Deb, it's in the cone. What do I do with it now? What do I do?
Well, I fell asleep. I fell asleep with. I fell asleep like this with the cone in my hand, and I felt the frequency go in there, and I'm like, oh my God, you said that it would go in there. What do I do now? I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I've gone to bed. I have them tucked in the back of me in my pillow, and I grab one in each hand, and I pull them out like they're pistols, and I go at it with 2. And repeatedly, I have gotten the correct drone beam, one in one hand, one in one cone, and one in the other. And I hold them there, until they burn out. And if I get the right 2, I can knock the grid off my house, my bedroom. And I've done that over and over again. Then they kind of switch it up. And you could take the cone and you could pull it through the air. And you could pull a bunch of those directed energy weapon beams and at once. And I have a thing that I do with it now is I kind of slowly bring it around, and then I bring it down to the floor, and I put it on a piece of lead. And, Deb, you can feel it bouncing inside the cone. The energy
I know.
the cone.
I can't describe it to people like that. That's exactly what happens. And then when it hits, it feels like a gun, like it's going back.
Yeah. And if you hold it there, long enough, you'll burn them out. They burn out, but you got to hold it, and it'll push it back. You can feel it coming through the copper. You can feel the pulse. You can feel it push. Yeah. Oh.
You did it, girl. You're the Wonder Woman. You are. And you know, with those fly zappers. Oh my God! The videos you do is just unbelievable. I laugh. I'm so happy. You put me in such a good mood when you're doing those videos and that music going, and you're waiting for them to stop. You're holding them there, and they got that frequency there, and you're waiting for them to stop. And then they stop, and then they start up again.
Setsa wants to know what the dimensions are of the copper cone.
Well, go ahead.
It's 6 inches. It's a 6-inch by 6-inch sheet of 22 gauge copper, and you need 2 sheets to make 1 cone. I actually made jumbo cones out of 12-inch by 12-inch copper, and they're awesome. It takes a lot longer to boot them off because it's bigger cone and it fills up a lot more. But it takes in those really big beams that they start shooting after a while. Like, you can't detect where it's coming from because it's everywhere. You just hold that sucker out heavy, Yeah, all right.
Oh my God.
The pelt in the jumbo.
Okay, what gauge, he wants to know what gauge of copper you use?
20 gauge. 20 gauge.
Is it 20? I thought it
20
was 22.
gauge.
What did you use?
Is it 20 or 22?
22 is thinner. 20 is thicker.
Yeah, you
The
want
lower you go, the thicker. Like if you did 18 gauge, thicker.
Yeah, that's better.
I got two sheets on each side, and it's really, really heavy. When people ask me if they can carry my bags for me, they can barely pick them up because I got my cones in there. And they go, "What the hell have you got in your purse?" Yeah, I take them everywhere.
So I did.
Deb, how do you set up the copper cones? Just stand them up?
Well, you don't just keep them in one place because they move their frequencies around. So when you're being attacked with something really strong, you wave that thing in front of you, and you go back and forth, up and down. That beam is right there on you. You can't hear it, but I can hear it, and I can hear it go snap, 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 and it's right in the middle. And then I stop there, and then I go like that.
Yep.
I'm like, "Come on, baby, come on, get your ass out of here," because it's really hurting me. And it takes a while, but it doesn't take long, but they're gone. They're gone.
You know what
gets
they are?
rid of them.
Thank you, Deb Kay, for
How
that.
do you
That's
leave them
great.
when you go to bed? How do you leave them when you go to bed?
I put them on each side of my head. I put them on each side of my head. Out. 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 A lot on my head. A lot right now.
Very good. Thank you, Deb. So, Noe Owl, how long have you been targeted so far? Do you have an idea at all?
Okay, well, I know I was threatened in 2020, and it started 24 hours later. I was threatened on Twitter.
Oh, wow. Wow. Oh, you were on 2020. Okay.
Yep. And then, but I have, from the scans that I have corrosive implant in the back of my head, and I have one in my knee, and I was told that means that it's been there since I was a baby. And from what I know, it appears to me that my family was targeted because it was so dysfunctional and unhealthy, the things that were happening, and they all had something. They're just, it was pretty bad. So I think that my entire family was targeted, but I think there's levels of it. I think that I know some of these implants came from a surgery in 2012, but I didn't learn about the targeting until that started happening to me in 2020, and I didn't know there was anybody else out there. My husband had deleted my Twitter account after it happened because I was trying to make it stop, and I couldn't make the electrocution stop. And I went back on Twitter in 2021, and there was some targeted people that I saw talking. It went by in my algorithm, and I was reading. I was like, "Oh my God, that's what's happening to me," but that's not what's happening to me. But some of that is, and some of this is, but no, mine's not like that. And so for months, I hung around with them, learning, but I didn't actually tell anybody I was targeted. And then, because I was afraid what would happen if I did. And then after about 6 months, I said, I targeted. This is what's happening to me, because my targeting just kept getting worse, and I hadn't sealed it. I didn't know what to do. I didn't seal it until, I think 2022 or 2023, and found that it was like going through everything. I covered this whole room, if you could see it. This they popped a hole in my roof. I covered this whole room with aluminum foil, and it stopped. But my husband hated it, and so I took it down, and the hits were intolerable. So I put it back up with some of that insulation that's like a bubble with, I forget what it's called, and it didn't work as well. And I had some on my roof. I thought maybe if I covered it on the roof, they couldn't get through the roof to me. But what was happening is aluminum foil, even if it's grounded here, it's becoming a conductor. So I had to take all the aluminum foil off my roof and out of the room, especially when there was a storm coming with lightning. But it was just, emergency blankets do that here also. I get attacked worse near an emergency blanket, and I tried them, the emergency blankets, when I went to Utah for the scan, and they helped on the walls, but when I put it over me to protect me, it was microwaving me. So whatever frequency they're using on me, I can't use aluminum foil. I have it on my roof. I have to take it down. I'm sure that's been a conductor. So there's things that I can't use. I had it on my window of my door, and I went over to move the curtain to vacuum the floor, and I got shocked. And I was like, wow, did that really happen? And then I tried to pull the curtain again, and I got shocked. And it happened 2 more times, so I took the aluminum foil down. Does it help? Yeah. I know when they start putting holes in it, you have to replace it. I do know that I can't use it here. It's making it like a microwave for me in my home. So I had to find other building options. And then I started using, I'm kind of skipping around, but I found that Harbor Freight mats were helping. And so those worked well for a while, and then they started getting through that, the whole package. I would keep the whole package together, and I would lay it on top of me, 25 inches by 25 inches, and I'd go to sleep like that with it on top of me and on the side of me in Virginia. And I put them underneath my dog's bed. And I took a meter reading. I tried to make her a little shelter over a dining room table with it. And it brought the reading, the EF, down to 0 at first. But the RTEC didn't stop it, the EF. RTEC stopped something else, which I think is sound. Some sound, but not an electrical field. So everything has its own layer, own reason for working. Unfortunately, we don't have one item that we can get that's going to stop everything. We have to use layers. And they keep switching it, but the only thing that stops it on an outlet is the mu metal. Nothing else I've tried stops the outlet, and I get attacked so bad out of the outlets, they choke me. They hit the implants and my throat from every outlet and every switch, and I can't breathe. I'm just choking to death. So for me, covering the outlets is number one priority, outlets and switches. And then the lead, this is interesting. Originally, I was going to cover my breaker panel, make an enclosure for my breaker panel, and cover it in lead, because I had put it all as much downstairs around the breaker panel I could, and I booted them off. And then they got through, but they had vibrated the lead off. So I pushed the lead up and covered the spaces, and they get booted off. And this is great. You know, I know what it's like getting to boot them off over and over again. And then they shoot in, and I have to go downstairs and fix it. And I couldn't keep the pieces up there, but then they were getting through even with the pieces of lead, because the lead is very moldable. Even with the pieces of lead around it, covering as much as I could, they were getting through. And I put it upstairs here on the first floor, and when I go over to it, I was feeling the directed energy weapon just blowing up off my floor at me. And the lead became almost like a conductor. And what happened, because it took me weeks and weeks and weeks to figure it out. If I moved the lead, the hits were less. If I moved the lead away from the breaker panel, and that wasn't supposed to happen. So the lead was picking up the vibration. It absorbed as much as it could, and it couldn't do it anymore, and it picked up the vibration. I'd have to move it, and it actually, after you move it and let it rest, after a couple hours, I could put it back on the spot and block them for a little while. And then they'd start again. They'd shoot and shoot and shoot with this vibration, the pressure and the vibration, and then the lead would vibrate. And I'd throw some Harbor Freight mats on there, like Pilot, 5 high, and I'd boot them off. Then I found, like, oh, my God, I can't breathe. I'm getting hit. What's going on? It's coming out of the mats. The mats piled that high, with or without the lead, is holding the vibration there. It is not dissipating. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. That's kind of, I guess, what our houses do. It holds the vibration. It doesn't go away. So the more they shoot in the pressure and the vibration, all our metal, everything that's metal and a conductor of sound is vibrating and vibrating. And then it's making the next thing that's next to it vibrate and vibrate. Before you know it, everything's vibrating and you can't breathe. And then they shoot it and they have it hit you from somewhere. And it's a continuous vicious cycle. So the mu metal stops that. It stops the vicious cycle. But it's a lot of strategy where you put it, and know that if there's an outlet, they can come in, shoot in from behind the outlet, the top of the outlet, and the sides of the outlet. So when you cover an outlet in the front, it can still get through the sides. But if you turn the mu metal to the side, you can block that shot. Why? Because the directed energy weapon the beam is actually wide. There's a sharp pelt in it, but when it shoots, it's a wide beam, and it's going to hit that mu metal, and the mu metal is going to stop it. But then you got it coming in the front, and you can't use those outlet covers that they sell that are supposed to be special, because the directed energy weapon comes right through the prong holes. So if you buy those special outlets that have the opening for the prong holes, it comes out of there anyway. So that's no good. You have to cover the complete outlet. If you plug something into your outlet and it sparks, they're in that outlet heavy. Don't use it, because when you use that one, it's going to spread through the whole house faster. If they're heating up your whatever you plug in and you can't charge it, let's say it's a battery for a flashlight, and it won't charge, that's because they're in that outlet and they're sucking the power out of that battery. You have to cover that battery with a piece of lead so they don't keep hitting it and taking the power. And you have to try to figure out with a mu metal where to put it to block them from having access to that outlet you're using. And that's hard to do. If you have a switch with an outlet underneath it, that's bad news. That's even worse, because they go through the switch, and then there's the outlet they cop into too. So now there's double trouble. Now, in my bedroom, I have a thermostat, a light switch, and then I have an outlet. And I get, with all the shielding I have, that's still this treacherous spot for me, because it's the thermostat for the furnace in Connecticut. The furnace is on. So I have to keep constantly putting mu metal underneath it, because they're shooting down and across. And it'll catch it and it'll whack them off. But then I take the mu metal and I put it somewhere else. I put lead there, like this morning I was holding the lead up. I had some lead. The mu metal was on the ceiling fan blade. I put it all over. I tried different things. So I put it on 2 blades. That's all I had. And I spin it around, and wherever it stops, it's going to boot them off in that spot above the ceiling. But in a little while, they get through it, the other spots. So then I spin it and have it move in a different area. So wherever the mu metal lands, it's going to boot them off in that area in the ceiling. So it's a game. It's like always, I'm going to boot them off. They're going to find a new spot. I'm going to hunt them down, boot them off. They're going to find a new spot. But I know that they can crisscross so many outlets and give each other power. It's crazy. It's really crazy. So if I'm in the bedroom trying to sleep and I'm getting hit broadside from behind me, they got into the house outlet somewhere on this side and they're shooting it across the house into an outlet from another room. That's how it. So every outlet has to be covered front and back with the mu metal. So I'll be covering the front, and then I'll go in the other room and try to find the outlet, the back of it, and put the mu metal behind it too. It's really crazy, but it's worth it because I'm worth it.
There you go.
What else can I tell you about the mu metal?
Yeah, please.
So I was so impressed with it, and it saved my life. And I decided to make some items, patches, and different items with it. And I wrote to the patent department, and I have a patent provision on 25 different items that I created with a mu metal to see if I could get a patent on them, because I like to make them and hopefully they will help people, because there's areas that I don't have mu metal on my outlets, and I put these, I call them portables. They're mu metal portables. I could put these portables there and they will break up the directed energy weapon they're shooting in, especially if they're round, because all their shots are straight. And I made these they're like a spool of thread but bigger, and when I put them in a room, it's really getting hit heavily, their shots get really messed up, and I can't sleep in my bedroom without them. Because they come through the ceiling and they come through the corners in the walls. So the interesting thing I found is I have one on, I put one on the right hand side of me on the bed, and I put one on the left hand side of me on a bureau drawer. I opened a bureau drawer because they hit me through the window and the walls and through the other room. And then I put one down at the end of the bed, up or on the safe, so it's up higher. But that makes 3. And what happened was the hits changed. There wasn't a hit. There wasn't a straight-on hit. I wasn't getting a straight-on hit anywhere. The room was like filling with this energy that was hitting me. It was like a storm. And my husband started tossing and turning and moaning, and I knew he felt it. But they no longer were hitting my implants. What was happening is they were hitting my thigh instead, and it was tapping my thigh, and I thought, wow, this is really weird, but I can't stop this storm that's happening. What was happening is the directed energy weapon was circling around these round these spindles that I made, and it kept circling around like a vortex and circling around, all 3 of them. I was watching it, and I was like, this is crazy. How am I going to stop it? So I held up a piece of lead, and it went right through the lead. And I tried to hold it up between the spindle and my husband, and the lead didn't stop it. So then the next day, I made another one with a flange at the end to shoot out. And when I did that, it worked. So it'll spin around and around and around the spindle that I make, and it will shoot out that flange instead of shooting out all the way around it at me. And it's really, really a lifesaver. And like I said, I can't sleep in my room without them. I have to have one on the right-hand side of me, one on the left, and one past my feet up higher. And ideally, I want to make one for behind my head because they come in from that way. And I know what they're doing. It's breaking up their grid. They can't shoot straight. They have a crisscross in every direction you can think of, and these spindles are breaking up their grid, and they can't shoot me the way they want to. They can't hit the implants. It's really fascinating because it spins. You can see it on camera, but if I showed it to people, they'd say, oh, it's just your camera malfunctioning or something. It's not. You could see the little, they look like little bacteria going round and around and around, but it's the energy going around it and going around. So I put in for a patent provision on that, which is holding the date for me to file my final paperwork. And I have patches that I made for my heart out of the mu metal. I tried magnets, I tried lead, and I tried silicone mats, and I couldn't stop it. But the mu metal stops the hits to my heart. It's not just over the heart. They shoot at my heart through underneath my armpit, and they can do it from my shoulder. And they can do it from the right-hand side coming across this way, and then straight on. So I love the mu metal for the patch for my heart. I bring it in the vehicle with me. It's a new experiment. At first, it wasn't working well, but it was because it takes a little while to work. It's not like the cones. When I have the cone in the vehicle, it picks up speed, and the radio frequency goes into the cone, and it boosts them off the faster I go. If I have them aimed at the headlights, and I have lead across my dash to break up any beam they have going into the radio. So I still get hit. And I brought the mu metal, and what I found was if you use the mu metal on your passenger seat or on your car seat before you leave, it needs about an hour to boot them off. The really important place to put the mu metal is where your door is when you're a driver. Above your window, there's a pillar. In that pillar is wiring. And in that wiring is Bluetooth. And when you find the right spot, you can put your mu metal right there. You have to close the window on it, though. That's the problem to get it to stay when you're picking up speed. But if you get it in the right spot and you wrap it around that pillar, it will block a lot of the hits in your vehicle. If you can put it on both sides, it's even better. But it's going through that pillar and it's shooting down. There's Bluetooth wiring in there. I could go on and on about that. There's a Bluetooth sensor in our tire valve for the tire pressure monitoring system. And the tire pressure monitoring system is going through the pillar to the tires and to the vehicle. But that's how they access it, besides the radio. So I could go on and on and on. So
That's okay. You're doing great. Does anybody have a question for Snowy Owl?
Can you show us a piece of the mu metal?
A piece? A piece on the outlet? This is one of the patches. This is terrible. I use it on an outlet and I use it on my heart. This is how all my shielding is. This isn't big enough. I need a couple like this size for my heart, but I can put it under my armpit, put it right over here. So, every outlet has some. Probably in the kitchen is the best spot. So I even got a sample of an anti-vibration mat that they use for NASA uses for their rockets. It doesn't work for directed energy weapons right here. It goes right through it, and actually what comes through is worse. So I think that's because...
What is it? What is that? What is that?
This is an anti-vibration. I think it's a closed, I don't know if it's open cell or closed cell foam. I'm trying anti-vibration.
Helping people around the world communicate for free.
From NASA.
Thank you for joining us at Targeted. Oh, sorry about that. Someone's messing with the call there a little bit.
I heard that. Okay, so this is a piece of mu metal. It doesn't look like much. I cut it in half, so it fits. I don't know if you can see it over my outlet. They have
Oh yeah. Oh, I see.
Right over the outlet.
But when you plug anything, is that for the ones that you don't plug anything in?
Well, I do, but like they're right here. I got my vape mod inside a piece of lead that I'm going to be charging, but I don't want to do that while I'm on the phone in case they hack into that outlet. They're going to go nuts, and then they're going to start shooting me every way they can because they're going to connect every outlet, switch, broadside, and go into my fridge. Give it to the guy in the front who I don't want to have it. He's going to go into the garage.
Oh, my. Well, if we don't have any more questions, you can hold on for just a moment. We're going to do the book club, and we have today's book is Political Ponerology by Andrew Lobachevsky. I have a little audio tip to play from the Duke Report. Give credit to them on YouTube. And I'll play this really quick, and we'll go back and see if anybody has more questions for Snowy Owl. Here we go.
You know, when you look back at history, the wars, the genocides, the totalitarian regimes, doesn't it ever feel like the usual explanations, politics or ideology, just fall flat? Well, today we're diving into a book that puts forward a radical and, frankly, a pretty terrifying alternative. It's been called the very first volume in a whole new science, Ponerology, the Science of Evil. And believe me, that's not just some marketing line. This work forces you to confront a deeply unsettling possibility about power and the kind of people who are drawn to it. Look, this is heavy stuff, for sure, but it has massive implications for how we see the world today. And that question right there, that's the whole ballgame. The book argues that what we call macro-social evil, evil on a huge societal scale, isn't born from bad ideas. It's more like a social disease spread by very specific kinds of people. And that is the absolute core of Ponerology. To really get this new science, you've got to understand the man behind it. A man who didn't just study this evil, he survived it. Meet Dr. Andrew Lobachevsky. And let me tell you, this guy wasn't some academic sitting in an ivory tower. No way. He was a clinical psychologist, an expert on psychopathy, whose entire life was forged in the crucible of historical tragedy. I mean, he lived through both the Nazi and the communist occupations of Poland. His laboratory, it was the world literally falling apart around him. And this timeline, man, it barely even scratches the surface. Imagine this. You're starting your studies, and your professors get rounded up and sent to concentration camps. You have to do all your groundbreaking research in total secrecy, knowing that if you're caught, you're done. He was arrested, he was tortured. At one point, he had to literally burn his own manuscript. Years of work, just moments before a secret police raid. But here's what's absolutely mind-blowing. He wasn't working alone, not at first. He was part of this secret collective of scientists scattered across Eastern Europe, all risking everything to figure this out. But then they started disappearing, one by one. Arrested, killed, who knows? And in the end, it was just him. He was the last one left, the only one to carry their monumental and incredibly dangerous work forward. So what was this secret work, this thing that people literally died for? Well, it was the beginning of a whole new science, one born not in the lab, but out of pure survival. Ponerology, that's what he called it. See, Lobachevsky and his group, they figured out pretty quickly that our usual words, good, evil, politics, morality, they just weren't cutting it. They were useless. To really get a grip on this inhuman thing they were seeing, they needed a new language, a clinical language, one based in biology and psychopathology. This really breaks down that massive shift in thinking. On one hand, you have how most of us see evil, what he calls the natural worldview. It's emotional, right? We get angry, we judge, but he argues that very reaction, as understandable as it is, actually blinds us. It stops us from seeing the root cause. Ponerology, on the other hand, is like a medical diagnosis. The doctor doesn't judge the virus, they identify it so they can fight it. Okay, so now we get to the core of it. How does this disease actually take hold? How does an entire society get sick? The pathogen, the virus at the center of all this, is what he calls essential psychopathy. And we have to be super clear here. We're not just talking about someone being a bad person. This is a clinical, biological condition. It's a person who is literally, neurologically, missing the hardware for things like empathy or guilt. They are wired differently from the rest of us. And when you look at the traits,
the perps we're talking about,
chilling.
the perps. That describes them perfectly.
Superficial charm that can fool pretty much anyone. But it's a mask. Underneath, there's this massive ego, this grandiose sense of self. They're pathological liars, master manipulators. But the key, the absolute core of it, is that void. The place where remorse and empathy are supposed to be, it's just empty. To them, you and I aren't people. We're objects, pawns on a chessboard. So how does one sick person infect an entire country? Lobachevsky lays out this terrifyingly predictable playbook. First, some appealing idea pops up, an ideology promising to make the world better. The psychopath doesn't believe in it, of course, but they see it for what it is, a perfect tool. So they grab it, they twist it, they turn it into propaganda. And then comes the really insidious part, what he calls negative selection. Basically, anyone with a conscience, anyone who's actually talented or can think for themselves, they get purged, fired, silenced, or worse. And who fills those empty spots? Yep, people just like them. And the end game of this process is something he named a pathocracy. This isn't just a change in leadership. It's a total takeover of the system by a small pathological minority, offering this invaluable psychological analysis of the shadowy role clinical psychopaths play in political life. The ideology they were spouting, it becomes totally meaningless. It's just wallpaper, camouflage to hide what's really going on. Okay, I know, that is an incredibly grim picture of how a society can be hijacked from the inside out. But here's the crucial thing. Lobachevsky didn't do all this work just to leave us feeling hopeless. The whole point was to give us a weapon, to show us a way out. He put it perfectly himself. He said the solutions we need, they're not going to be the usual ones. Not politics, not war. You can't fight a disease that way. You need something more like an antibiotic, or maybe even psychotherapy for an entire nation. You have to diagnose the illness before you can ever hope to cure it. And that, right there, is the ultimate point of his monumental achievement. This knowledge, which he literally called forbidden knowledge because of how hard regimes tried to stamp it out, it's not just for academics. It is a societal vaccine. If we can learn to spot the traits, to see the patterns of this disease taking hold, we can develop an immunity. A vaccine against tyranny. That's the goal. It changes the fight, right? It's not about left versus right anymore. It's about awareness versus manipulation. And it means every single one of us can be part of the immune system. So that leaves us with a pretty huge question. If he's right, if evil on a massive scale is really a disease, then what's our real job? Maybe it's not just about building a more just world, but a psychologically healthier one. So what does that even look like? And where on earth do we begin?
Thank you.
Wow.
Now, wasn't that cool? That's the book that we're currently reading right now that you can join in on, Political Ponerology, and we gave it a 7. You can check that out at our book club, which is bookclubs.com/TIbookclub/join. You can join today. Now, does anybody have any questions for Snowy Owl as we end this recording in a couple of minutes?
Good evening. I have a question. It's in regards to your post, the post for the oscillating electromagnetic field generator that you showed. It's a question in regards to the assembly of it and the direction and your findings in using something like that. I'll post a link in the chat so people know what I'm talking about.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I love that. So I use bug zappers with a little piece of fresh garlic in them, and it picks up directed energy weapons. And what I did was I had touched it to the copper mesh that I had laying on the floor, and I had on my wall before, and it makes the bug zapper spark. And sometimes they put the frequency in here so heavy that the bug zappers won't take off and shoot back at them. It'll connect with a directed energy weapon and keep bouncing it and shooting EMPs at it. And it won't let go. It doesn't let go until they shut it off or it fries their tech. And what I did was I had the copper mesh laying across the floor. And when I get angry, I guess I get these ideas, and I rub the copper mesh between the bug zappers. And I had a set on one side, and I had a set on the other side. And I got them, they both started going and clacking, and they were creating the EMPs. That's what it is. It's an electromagnetic field creating EMPs and sparks. And it connected with a whole bunch of their drones and whatever satellites they had shooting down into my breaker panel. And the copper mesh was I don't know if you want to call it electrified, but the one that I made, not the one that they made. So it was a reverse of what they did to me. I reversed it back on them. And when I looked it up, I thought it was an induced current, but it's actually an oscillating, alternating current, active current, because my zappers are bouncing EMPs, and it's making the mesh oscillate. And each zapper is going to bounce in its own manner. I call it bounce. I don't know if you've seen it clack. It's like goes crazy, and you can see the big white stripes coming down. That's the directed energy weapon that you can't see with your eyes. You can see it on the infrared. So it's an alternating active current oscillating back and forth with a mesh, as long as the mesh is between the bug zappers, and the bug zappers are clacking. It's really cool, and it lightens the load of the electromagnetic field in that area, which makes it lower in the house, because that's the area where my electric meter is and my breaker panels in the floor. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you so much, and I'll have to get some garlic.
You're welcome. Yes, they're great. They are
With a little butter and some Chianti, yes, you'll do fine. Any more questions for...
Well, I got a question for you.
Come on in, JWO. Yeah.
What specific test equipment do you use to validate your findings as far as like evidentiary purposes would go? All right, now you know there's a certain outlet that's attacking you. Do you have an oscilloscope or a multimeter or any kinds of test equipment?
Hi. Yes, I have a tri-field, but I use the DQ390, and it shows, to me, it shows more of a description of what's going on. It'll show you if it's power line or cell tower, EF, RF, and EMF at the same time, what's going on. So I love that meter. And it shows me I'm always having high EF out of my outlets since they've been into my meter with a directed energy weapon. And the only thing that stopped it is I did a video the other day, because I found that the mu metal stops it completely down to zero out of the outlet in the switch. I tried the copper, and it's right on video. Copper doesn't do it, and I tried lead, and lead does not do it. It goes right through the lead. because it's an electrical field. So that's one meter that on video you can't.
My suggestion is you go to Home Depot and get one of those AC pulse testers that lets you test the outlet without actually plugging anything into it, right? Klein tools or any of those AC pulse testers. Go up to that your switch box, your outlet box, and you will find at least one breaker is way over volted. You shut off the mains and physically take that breaker out of the box, or get an electrician to do it, and your environment will instantly improve.
It's an AC tester. I have a voltage, I think it's a voltage meter. It's a 3-prong Klein, and I started testing my outlets, and I found that 3 of them have a 0 ground. There's no ground. We have to find out why, but that's in the other room, not in the kitchen. So I don't know if somebody...
Your house is older. That's probably why it's not grounded in some places.
That could be. Or it was that...
Yeah, my 2 houses, I owned a house from 47 and a house from 54, and they both weren't grounded.
That could be. So, but the electrician actually is going to be here tomorrow to find out what's going on in those 3, because it's the same zone. It's all the same area. It's just those 3. And actually, they're new outlets, so I don't know why, but...
These perps will break into your house. These perps will break into your house when you are not there. They will take select breakers out of the panel, take them apart, and disable the safety fuse inside the breaker. That lets them pass a lot more voltage through that particular breaker.
Look at this breaker here.
They did that in Virginia, too.
They broke the breaker. You see it? It popped out of the wall from them streaming energy. And what you're saying about grounding is very correct, because I was in India where the building wasn't grounded, and they managed to reach me with, like, full electricity. Like, my foot was electrocuted. Luckily, I have my own, from practicing chi and, yoga and stuff, that it didn't affect me that much. But that's what they call, I think it's carpet bombing. If persons aren't, grounded themselves, they could be taken out, because I felt that there. Literally, also another thing is they have marble floors there. Marble's very cheap there, and so a lot of people use it. And the floor was marble, it was conducting a lot of electricity, and my foot was literally electrocuted. Like, I felt the electrical shock. And I was sitting there, like, trying to take it, just like, all right, well, maybe this is just another test, for myself. But it was...
Well, thank you for sharing that. We're going to go ahead and end the recording and let you guys keep talking. Thank you for watching on your favorite platform. Please like, subscribe, and make a comment. We'll be back next week with another recording. We'll have a guest. So we're going to end the recording. Hold on, please.